What's the big secret, Ann? Don't you bullshit me now. What evidence you people got on the Freddie Angelo murder, huh?
I gather you're beginning to think cops were involved.
Yeah.
Why?
There was an unmarked police car. It's a piece of shit four-door. Besides, anybody could drive like that. Only cops drive like that. Now, what do you know?
We have an eyewitness who saw two men in an unmarked police car dump Freddie Angelo's body into the Piazza d'Italia.
Why'd they think it was an unmarked police car?
They saw a blue light and a radio in the front seat.
Why'd you withhold this information from the police, huh?
The police are the suspects.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be? It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, starfighters, crawfish cookers, and bayou boaters. This is Ruined Childhoods, and we are on our 18th episode of a 52-week journey exploring the 50 U.S. states, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico. Apologies to Guam, American Samoa, the Northern Mariana Islands, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. We'll catch you another time. This week, we're visiting the Pelican State. With a population of 4.6 million, this state is best known for Creole cooking, gator hunting, and a festival where you can earn a beaded necklace if you expose your bare breasts. Come to this state for live jazz music, swamp cruises, and be sure to stop by Brennan's for a Bananas Foster, TripAdvisor's #1 destination for the sweet treat born on the bayou. That's right, we're in Louisiana, home of New Orleans, aka the Big Easy. Dan, you've spoken about a theater tour that you did 20-something years ago that brought you down south. Any key Louisiana memories you'd like to share?
Yeah. So first of all, so many, but so let's start with the Alligator Festival, because in thinking back to
a festival.
So
okay,
all right. So for context, when I was doing the acting thing and doing children's theater tours, I was in a tour that was based out of Kenner, Louisiana, which is a suburb of New Orleans. So I spent a lot of time because that's where we rehearsed, and there were a lot of tour stops throughout the state of Louisiana. But one of the first things that we did in Louisiana around New Orleans before we went out on the road was we went to the Alligator Festival. And the Alligator Festival
right on.
It was held here. I'm holding up a photo for John to see, and we'll post this.
Okay.
It is a physical photograph, so we will post a picture to Instagram. But the Alligator Festival, which I don't know the name of this bridge, but it held basically like under this bridge and off of Lake Pontchartrain.
Chili Peppers style. Not quite Chili Pepper style.
Yep, absolutely. And under the bridge one time was where I ate alligator for the first time.
Okay.
So I ate alligator, and in this photograph, I am indeed eating like an alligator like patty and enjoying it very much so. And I'm also wearing a t-shirt that I thought I bought it there, but then it's also odd that I'm wearing it, and I can't tell if I'm wearing it over another t-shirt. But because my tour in New Orleans, I got there on September 8th, 2001. And right. So the Alligator Festival that I went to.
Dan, if this is your way of giving an alibi, I should let you know nobody has suspected you.
I'm sure there's some conspiracy theorist somewhere who has tied me into it. And if not by now, there will be soon, because I've already said too much. But anyway, here I am in New Orleans, photographic proof. And we were at the Alligator Festival. There was Zydeco music. And the t-shirt that I'm wearing is an image of Uncle Sam, the iconic Uncle Sam, giving the finger, and above the image it says, "To those responsible." I think it says ... My alligator pie is blocking the rest of the letters, but
Wait a second. Hold on. When was this photo taken?
In September.
When
I don't have an exact date.
Oh,
I'm sure I could look up when the Alligator Festival was in 2001.
So I'd love to know how quickly somebody thought we need to print this T-shirt immediately, because this is presumably just after September 11th, 2001.
This is not long after.
Like
this
and they got onto the racks at whatever gas station you were at in Louisiana buying T-shirts. They got it on there. This Uncle Sam flipping the bird T-shirt.
Oh, that was everything. They had those. They had the terrorist hunting permits. All that. All those fun post 9/11 in the Deep South things. But I was swept up in it.
Yeah.
So I had the T-shirt, and I'm eating alligator like I was, to quote the Creedence Clearwater Revival, "Born on the Bayou."
So would you say that this period where this photo is taken, was this you at your most patriotic?
Like within days of 9/11? Probably.
Yeah. Like to the point, because
Yes.
I mean, yes, obviously it was devastating, but I never bought any clothing that indicated my views towards terrorists.
I'm
just
definitely
curious,
did within weeks of 9/11.
Yeah.
And
although I would say you've always been more of a graphic tee guy than I am.
yes, this is true.
So that's true.
Although I don't know. You've got your share. Don't sell yourself short on the graphic. You have actually introduced me to several. One of my favorite, I mean, not quite a graphic tee, but I only have it because you had an extra one, and that would be the Del Preston T-shirt.
Well, the Del Preston, which I wore during our Wayne's World episode, because Del Preston is a character in Wayne's World 2. Del Preston, that's less of a graphic tee because it's just text. So there is something printed on the shirt, but it is not so much imagery as it is just the text in kind of like an AC/DC font,
right,
that says Del Preston. But going back to Louisiana, I do want to share with you, I do remember you brought me back an alligator foot back scratcher.
Oh yeah,
I remember this. Yeah,
I'm sure.
And also, you shared that photo of yourself eating the alligator. So I, for quite a long time have been a vegan, animal rights activist in my own ways, and certainly alligator is not anything I've ever eaten. Nor would you have gotten me an alligator foot back scratcher during that time, since the time I,
right,
became an animal rights activist. This is long before that.
This was several years earlier.
But right. But I did work on a number of reality television shows that were filmed in Louisiana. I was never there. I was always in post-production. And it was during the time right after Hurricane Katrina, where when there were a lot of tax incentives to film in Louisiana and boost the economy, which full support of that. And so a lot of the shows that I did were shows that were filmed out on swamps, more in like the Baton Rouge area, in the swamplands there. So there was Swamp People on the History Channel, and a show I did for CMT called Swamp Pawn, which was kind of like taking advantage of the pawn shop television show craze that was going on at the time. And that one, it centered around a seafood wholesaler. So somebody who alligator hunters would bring gators to, and he would buy them off of the hunters, and sell them for meat or leather, the skin, and all sorts of reasons. I'm sure some of them some of the people he sold to perhaps turned their feet into back scratchers. We never really got into any of those episodes, but perhaps if it got a few more seasons, who knows? But that's the beginning and the end of my Louisiana experiences, not having been there, but working with people, remotely who are in Louisiana on these television shows in and around Louisiana.
Right. Yeah. And just to kind of throw out a couple of very brief anecdotes about Louisiana. It was in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is much more of a bayou, much more like bayou country. It was in Lafayette. It was in a like comics and collectibles baseball card store where the one and only time that I was called a damn Yankee. Not that I did. It was not I did nothing to offend anybody, but just the shop owner was talking to me and one of the other actors on the tour. And we said that we were from New York. And what's a couple of damn Yankees doing down here?
So it wasn't so much in a way of showing disapproval for you, but just that's kind of just the mentality and the humor,
right,
of somebody from New York. Yeah, well, we did do an episode of Swamp Pawn where Rick, the seafood wholesaler, and his wife go to visit New York. And our brother Scott was on the episode because they go on a pizza tour. Scott runs Scott's Pizza Tours. And it also shows them going to Two Boots Pizza, which is Louisiana-inspired pizza. So it was kind of like the blending of two worlds while also having this kind of fish out of water story of these, people who never leave the swamp suddenly in the middle of all these tall buildings looking up in wonder and seeing alligator, leather purses and things like that and seeing how much they sell for and their eyes popping out of their heads basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy viewing, any type of culture, like pop culture stuff that takes place there, that's filmed there. I feel like there was a New Orleans season of The Real World that was also like post Katrina. And I remember watching that season. That's like probably the last season of The Real World that I watched. And I really like that one. Queer Eye did a season in New Orleans, which was great. So I always really like seeing that particular bubble because it's so different from everywhere else in the country.
Well, and speaking of movies, I went to the movies quite a bit in Louisiana, but the experience, but I want to share the movie going experience that really stands out was Zoolander, because Zoolander is such a New York-y movie. There's there were definitely moments in Zoolander where I was laughing and I got the impression, I was like, the people in the theater are not catching that that's a joke or like what's funny about that.
They're watching a very different movie than you are.
Right. Yeah. So it was funny. I mean, most of the other movies that I saw in Louisiana, I mean, I can remember a lot of the movies I saw on that tour. I could not necessarily tell you which ones. Louisiana, I think, saw Monsters, Inc. in Louisiana. That also might have been Mississippi. I don't recall. But I definitely remember Zoolander in Louisiana. Right. It was closer to Baton Rouge than New Orleans. But definitely that sense of being, of seeing it from a more familiar perspective, and kind of like the way that we look at things about New Orleans, especially films and stories that are real, I would say, capture the essence of the city, which I think are the film we're going to talk about today. Not being someone from New Orleans, I thought The Big Easy was a solid representative film of that city.
Yeah, it starts off with this big sweeping shot, just showing you the city and the entire atmosphere. And there are scenes that take place very much, in the heart of New Orleans. And then, when you see at like the guy's mom's house, it's kind of out in the more of like a not so much neighborhoody, but it's a little bit less of an urban area. And, just seeing the architecture and the music that they have in there just captures a very different world than anything else that we've at least talked about in our, journey through the United States
right
so far. And I'm sure that'll be true of the rest of them. But yeah, no, it's a really special place. And I feel like The Big Easy captures that in a really cool way.
Yeah, it's right. It's got its own distinct flavor. And like you said, the architecture, seeing so many houses on stilts was something different. It was, oh, right. Yeah, that's a concern. And of course, when I was there, it was a few years before Hurricane Katrina, but we all saw what happened there, and that, just how threatened by flooding this city is. Oh, speaking of threats, another fun New Orleans thing. So people in New Orleans but they are very much, and this kind of applies to the film, because something that you get a sense of in this film is that the Ellen Barkin character, Ann Osborne, is an outsider. Right.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to give I have a very quick synopsis.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna breeze through that really fast, and then let's pick up on that. Okay, a New Orleans wise guy, and I say it in quotes, is murdered, and the investigation becomes a joint effort between Remy McSwain, a local homicide detective, and Ann Osborne, an outsider district attorney. Remy immediately seduces Anne despite her better judgment, which becomes complicated when an internal affairs investigation uncovers a bribery scheme that lands Remy in the defendant's seat opposite Anne's prosecution. But after the case's dismissal, they are both witness to a murder that implicates the New Orleans Police Department in a way that Remy can't ignore. They work together to uncover the truth behind a massive police scheme to frame an organized crime syndicate and line their own pockets with millions of dollars in drug money. So, yes, Dennis Quaid is Remy McSwain, Ellen Barkin is Ann Osborne, Ned Beatty is Captain Jack Kellum, who is a father figure to Remy, and also very much in the sense that he will become his stepfather as he is engaged or getting engaged to Remy's mom. We also have John Goodman in there as one of the other cops in the homicide department. It's a really nicely well-rounded cast. Everybody feels appropriate. I don't know, Dan, if you agree with me there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I
feel like this was also a great way for John Goodman to start getting into his character for The Princess and the Frog. Learning a little bit about the Cajun accent.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. So looking at this cast and thinking about that this is coming out in August 1987, Dennis Quaid, Inner Space is already in theaters. And I don't think either of these movies was as successful as, I remember Inner Space was considered a disappointment in terms of how much money it made.
Sure. But The Big Easy was successful enough to get a spin-off television series.
This is true.
Not that it
was that on the
a successful
on the USA Network, but
USA?
Before that meant something, because I would say that the quality of USA shows has since increased, and this is someone who is experiencing Suits at least partially second hand through somebody else in the house watching it. But
I only just learned, I've never seen Suits. I've only just learned that it's called that because of lawsuits.
Not because they wear. Oh, yeah. Law.
I
That too.
honestly was always like, why would they call this show Suits? Because they wear suits? I didn't know that it was about, like, I'm assuming it's about lawyers if it's about lawsuits.
It is indeed about lawyers and lawsuits, and there are suits worn. So I believe it's a play. Worn. I believe it's a play on the word. But yes, anyway, I recommend Suits. It's a good time.
Okay.
Check it out. But back to the...
I don't think I will.
But it is likely a higher quality show than the Big Easy series was. But I have to say, the film, The Big Easy, was an entertaining watch. I enjoyed it.
Totally entertaining. If I had one complaint, it's just that Dennis Quaid's Cajun accent was just so jarring to me when the movie first starts.
Yeah,
he lays it on really thick, but I feel like I got used to it pretty quickly.
Well, I think if you imagine his Cajun accent without all the cocaine that he was doing during the filming of this, it probably was pretty good. The Cajun accent on coke was a bit much.
Okay, first of all, this is this is Dennis Quaid's sweet spot, the late 80s. I feel like he's doing his best work. He's his most charismatic. He's not MAGA yet, so that's cool.
Right.
And and he's a lot of fun. And then you kind of take a look at his brother and you say, oh, I like him even more because he's not like that guy. Randy Quaid was, even at that time was still, performing well in theaters. He wasn't yet completely off his rocker.
Right. Yeah. This was
as a person.
I mean, this is pre-National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which I would say Independence Day is probably Randy Quaid's.
But it's post-Vacation.
It is post-original Vacation. And I could not off the top of my head tell you what Randy Quaid was doing. Parents, which was like a cannibal, like a dark comedy about cannibalism, like suburban cannibals.
You know what I really liked Randy Quaid in? I really liked him in The Last Detail.
Oh yeah,
with Jack Nicholson. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with
Hal
like Ashby.
Young,
I really liked that.
The kind of like
young,
like the
Quaid.
young, kind of doofy. I mean, it's doofy in the older, but kind of like the young, goofy, kind of innocent, but
goofy.
Not
sure.
Yeah, Randy Quaid, Dennis, but
he was doing a lot. He was doing a lot of interesting stuff then, and clearly he had the Vacation movies. He's wonderful in Kingpin. You said Independence Day. He's fantastic in. So it's just when his personal life and his sensibilities kind of shifted into a different direction. I mean, who knows? Maybe he's right. Maybe he's right and we're all wrong.
I think. And I feel like Brokeback Mountain was the last thing that I can remember him, like the last high profile role I can remember him having before, like the whole tax evasion and going off the grid and all that. So Randy Quaid is another story. We are, of course,
perhaps we'll cover a Randy Quaid movie fully, but we're talking Dennis here.
Dennis Quaid. I always liked Dennis Quaid. I liked very much his performance as Jerry Lee Lewis in Great Balls of Fire. I have not watched that movie in a long time, but it was.
It's maybe better if you don't.
No, yeah, that's kind of where I am with it, and that's fine. But I remember thinking his performance, regardless, was pretty good. Of course, not really knowing much about Jerry Lee Lewis. I'd read the book that it was based on, but really liked Dennis Quaid in that. And I really liked him in this, despite, like you said, the accent a bit much. But
the accent's a bit much, but it's like, okay. What's up?
I was gonna point out there's a couple of great cameos in here, including a figure from one of my favorite movies of all time, JFK, we have Jim Garrison,
the
the
actual Jim
former
Garrison.
district attorney Jim Garrison in this as a judge.
Playing himself.
Very low key and not suspecting any conspiracies at all, even though conspiracies abound in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Solomon Burke.
Yes.
The gang
Oh, he's
that they're all trying to
fantastic.
set
He's
up.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, he's so good. He's so good. Just real quick about Dennis Quaid. Loved him in The Right Stuff.
Yes.
The Right Stuff is a movie that I always want to go back and watch again. Such an incredible cast and just a cool film. Anybody who hasn't seen it, it's just the early U.S. getting into the space game. Really awesome stuff.
Excellent film.
Really fun.
Excellent film.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and Ellen Barkin in this is so awesome. I feel like she really takes control over her character. I feel like a little disappointed at times when she succumbs very easily to Dennis Quaid's advances, but also Dennis Quaid is very charming and funny and handsome.
I mean,
and
it's also a 1980s crime thriller meant to really showcase the male star. And yeah, I think that casting Ellen Barkin is a strong choice, that and she elevates the role, but the role is written to be
Ellen Barkin is also particularly good at playing a woman who is being seduced by the wrong guy. And I'm thinking of Ocean's 13.
Oh,
she's like Al Pacino's, I don't know if assistant is the right word, but kind of like right hand. And she succumbs to the advances, the chemically induced advances of Matt Damon's character in order to, swindle them. But she's so great in that role.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, there's like little nuggets of that in the Anne Osborne character too. And she's delightful. She's so fun.
Well,
she's so great.
And her physicality is something that's always stands out in her roles. I think about Switch, which I haven't seen that one in a long time, but I just remember again, like, here's a movie that is really being carried by this. It's where a womanizer wakes up one morning as a woman, and
that one is one that I've seen the poster for it a zillion times, but have never actually watched it, but I've been curious about it. That's Jimmy Smits, Jo Beth Williams, Lorraine Bracco.
And it's a Blake Edwards.
I need to watch that one.
I think, right? Blake Edwards.
Is it Blake Edwards?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I actually do want to go back. Watching this movie made me want to go back and watch that because, again, it was her physicality, and like you said, when she's being seduced and she knows it's the wrong guy, and she does this thing like it's not just in her eyes, it's just like in her body. That moment where she's just like, all right, okay, fine, whatever, I'm in.
She does a lot with her physicality that's very, I think, unique to her, and she has full control over every move that she makes. And, you can tell that everything that she does is as an actor, it's like she just gets completely absorbed into the role that she's playing, and which, I mean, that's the goal, but she does it with just every molecule in her body.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really fun to watch her in this movie. I feel like the plot is really solid. I am a sucker for internal affairs, dirty cop kind of stuff. And I feel like the way they handled it in this was really cool, because even though you're seeing, Remy doing things that are shady, you're still this is the protagonist. But I'm enjoying watching him be shady.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was something that I liked about it was that they weren't trying to make him look like some knight in shining armor, white knight. But
Yeah.
that also, what I also thought was great about the script was the scene when he says, where he's just like, this is just what this is normal to me.
Yeah.
This is what I grew up with. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, right? Not a big deal. Because also, like, he's the money that, and it's called the Widows and Orphans Fund. I love when they talk about, what about the widows
Right.
and orphans? But
Yeah.
he's putting his brother through law school.
Yeah. Sure. You do understand why he's doing what he's doing, but also, like you were saying, it's part of the job. It's something that they all do. There's like an entire interrogation room that's just dedicated to counting cash. And when he gets busted for kind of accepting a bribe, I feel like he does enough in that moment, I feel, to I don't know, perhaps wriggle himself out of it, even if there was video of him. He
runs from the
like,
cops and eats the evidence.
Well, but not the cash though. It's just an
right,
envelope.
he throws the cash.
I mean, yeah, and I don't think there's video of him eating the envelope. It's just the video of him sitting at the bar. Yeah. So, right, which is so wonderful. And, nobody eats an envelope like Dennis Quaid.
I was just thinking that. I was just like, and right, because he gets the whole, there's jaw action, there's cheek movement, and his eyes are like, try and stop me from eating this envelope.
He's a great comedic eye actor. His jaw is doing such great work. I feel like his nose also like kind of comes down in a way.
Gets in on the action.
Like, oh, this guy's hilarious.
The nose is not left out.
Yeah, but even after that, when he sees the captain, Jack, his soon to be stepfather, Ned Beatty's character, he says like. That's good. We take care of each other. We're going to take care of each other, because I think that he was the one that was supposed to be there taking that bribe.
Yep. He was the one who was getting set up.
Yeah. And Remy wasn't, selling anybody out. He was just like, nope, it's my responsibility to just, eat shit for a little bit and figure out how to destroy the evidence and be on my merry way. And because he's just so like cool and casual, of course he's going to get out of everything. He's Remy McSwain.
So there we go. Yeah, there's the tagline for the sequel. So
hey, he's Remy McSwain.
So just a little sidebar here. Where does this rank in your like internal affairs crooked cop movie ranking? Like what are the finest of the genre? Because I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about like, of course, internal affairs. And I also think like which
I don't even think is necessarily in my top.
Well, right. No, I think about The Negotiator. I put that in there.
I mean, Training Day is up there. That's for sure.
I'll have to check Training Day out again. It's been a while. I mean, that's in terms of crooked cop performances, Denzel Washington, he won an Oscar for it.
Well, yeah, Denzel Washington. I mean, he's the crooked cop. He's, the shady character. I mean, that one, I think that just like as a, just altogether full package, that's got to be the best. But I think that The Big Easy is definitely up there now that I'm more familiar with it.
Right. See, that one's not as like investigative as I like.
Oh, no.
I like where we're peeling back the layers and uncovering the mystery as we go. Much like in The Big Easy.
Yeah, The Big Easy does a really good job at, keeping you guessing the entire time, taking you through every single step of it. While also taking you on an amazing tour of New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And it's great. I love it. I'm looking through just a list of other crooked cop movies. I haven't seen Copland in a long time. I need to watch Copland again.
That might be my favorite. That might be my favorite.
Yeah, Copland I need to watch again. The Departed. The Departed is a great one. That's one, because you're on both sides of it the whole time, and even though you know what's going on and keeping up with everybody, I mean, the rat at the end takes me fully out of it. But if I can, stop the movie before you see the rat, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
He makes some strange choices sometimes that I can't get behind.
I know. I'm with that, and I'm usually an apologist when it comes to Marty, but the rat
fully understand.
Yeah, that was a bit much even for him.
Yeah.
But so the Departed, but definitely check out Copland again. Copland.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch Copland again.
Good stuff. Great Ray Liotta performance in there. Some great De Niro. You know who else I love in that? Michael Rappaport.
Love Michael Rappaport.
Oh, yeah, and Stallone. Stallone is really good.
And Stallone, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway.
Yeah.
Back to the Big Easy.
Maybe I'll do a little bit of a Crooked Cop film festival just on my own.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so, Dan, I don't want to say too much because this is perhaps one that people haven't seen or maybe haven't seen in a long time, so I don't want to give away the ending. Although it's kind of one of those where it's like you just need to see it to like really be able to, see what's going on, because there are some moments when there are reveals that are just great dramatic moments.
Mm-hmm.
And some really fun action set pieces that happened at the end of the movie. And it's really, really super engaging. And as a movie that also has a romance element to it, it's mixed together so well. And you kind of are taken on this ride with Anne Osborne, like to experience, like, I do not want to be with this guy. He is a total dirtbag, and I fell for it once. I'm not going to fall for it again, but I have to see this, this mission through with him in order to uncover what's going on, because I fully believe that he did not know what was happening with this side of things.
Right.
And you go on that journey with her, and meanwhile you can see from Memory's perspective, like, I can't screw this up. I don't want to overstep any boundaries. The guy who's coming to her with like the pizza and trying to get her to go on more dates, like, he's got to take a back seat because there's more important things going on, even though I really have the hots for this lady.
Right. And I would say, though, in regards to that, without being too specific about things that happen towards the end of the movie, I will say that I feel about the very last scene of this movie as the rat at the end of The Departed. I didn't need that.
Really? You mean what happens over like the ending credits and stuff?
Like, yes.
The very, very end.
The very, very
after
end.
The action.
Yes. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Not part of the story. I just don't want to.
Yes. I agree. And anybody who has seen it knows what we're talking about. But one other thing that I will say is that I love his apartment. It feels very New Orleans. Tall ceilings, amazing big tall windows. Really cool apartment. I mean, it's very also characteristic of him as a person. There's not a lot of furniture. I imagine that in New Orleans, a lot of places are just kind of a little bit bigger, just a lot more roomy. And so it just felt very appropriate of an apartment for him. Yeah.
Agreed. I can't really speak to the interiors of New Orleans apartments per se, but they filmed on location in New Orleans, and it does. And this was also a film that was voted on by our listeners
Yeah.
Because
our social media followers and friends.
Because,
yeah.
of course, we're looking at, like, we are from New Jersey. That is the state that we can credibly say, like, yes, this movie represents an essence of our state, if not the essence of our state. So that's what we're looking for is, and that, you know, I'm glad that we got that for Louisiana, because we had a few things in mind, but this was a movie that neither of us had seen before.
Yeah, and I will say that one of our other options, The Water Boy, would have also been such a fun, you know, different side of Louisiana, you know, not in a big city, not in an area where people are more familiar with. It's, I think, probably even just a fictional town or parish or whatever.
It's a fictional
in
college,
Louisiana, where
yeah.
Fictional college where Bobby Boucher goes. But in that one, I feel like, you know, the over the top Cajun accents are acceptable because it's a comedy that's very over the top, and the way that people act, the way people dress, and there's just a lot of delight to be taken from The Water Boy.
Yeah,
and is also a fun homage to Bayou Livin'.
right. And they, especially Kathy Bates's character, is
Mama,
the highlight of Little Girls is the Devil. Great. There's great scenes. The Water Boy, and it definitely does like play on those Cajun. I don't want to say stereotypes, because I do feel like it does it lovingly. The farmer Fran character,
absolutely.
The coach who,
yeah,
no one understands what he's saying. So that one, another one of our options that I'll throw out because it's a favorite of mine, Eve's Bayou, which
I've never seen, and maybe we'll cover it on the show in the future.
Without it, and it's also something worth checking out. Anyway, it's just a really cool. It has a lot of atmosphere and mystery to it, not in the same way as Big Easy, but and another wonderful film that I think is very specific to Louisiana. It's not a film that could have taken place anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, Dan, you know, just talking about the Big Easy, I'd love to know what you would do to kind of revive this all these years later, almost 40 years later.
Yeah. And I do feel like it would be fun to do something with it. Another series could work.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have anything too creative for this, but I think another series could, I feel like another series where you have like an assistant district attorney who is kind of develops this kind of tenuous relationship with a cop, and it doesn't not necessarily a romantic or sexual relationship, at least not, you know, from the beginning, if it's a series, but to say, and it doesn't have to be these characters, but just teaming up, investigating corruption. You know, you could kind of do something like The Wire in New Orleans, you know, police-wise. And I know the creator of The Wire did a series in New Orleans, but that wasn't about police corruption.
Well, I think that one of the things that makes The Big Easy stand out and different from something like The Wire is its playful spirit. And it takes those, you know, it begins with such levity and, you know, that really fun music. And then once things come to a head and the dramatic moments start to happen, you know, you are going on this journey with this movie that, you know, takes a hard left turn. And, you know, like we were saying, you know, once this guy Daddy gets killed and they discover that it's unmistakably an undercover cop car, that's, that's when things are just, because even right up until before then, things feel very playful, things feel very like loose, and it's like, all right, well, what's gonna happen? And then all that happens, and it's just like, a really great little foot chase, and Ellen Barkin throws a brick on the car, and it's awesome, and then it's just like, oh damn, something really serious is going on, and we have to get down to the bottom of this, and I've got to get my head out of my ass. My name is Remy McSwain.
Right. Well, although there's that one scene where he breaks everything down to her and he explains all of the different connections, especially between the different gang leaders in New Orleans, where I feel like there's a shift there, because that's the moment when she's like, oh, you do take this seriously, even though you act like you don't. And you do know what's going on, which makes me think, and I'm thinking about, and another reason why I say a series is because you do have different organized crime families in New Orleans. That's not something we necessarily hear about that often, and we don't necessarily associate. I think New Orleans definitely has that air of where there could be that corruption, and a lot of that comes from that sense where it is a more closed off community, and there is more of that, like, there's the people from here, and this is how we do things, and we can tell when you're not from here, and we will let you in as we see fit.
Right. And I think that there's a lot that bleeds into this movie that comes from its origins, because it was originally set in Chicago. And it makes a lot more sense, I think, to have a movie set in Chicago that features, organized crime. And that's not something that you really think about a lot with cities like New Orleans. And I think that what's something that's nice about the fact that it's set in New Orleans is that it's kind of just like, this shit's everywhere. Well, and we have our own special flavor of it.
And although this is not the first time we're looking at organized crime in the Deep South, if I could remind you about Bobby the Blade from The Client.
Oh yeah.
Anthony LaPaglia.
Listen to our Grisham's episode there. There's
but outside of the Grisham verse and Sweaty Law, we don't get much of that.
Law.
We don't get much of that. So I think a New Orleans set series, don't make it a Law and Order CSI knockoff, but following these characters and following the kind of movements of, if you have all of this corruption and all of these ties that go back, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours with an alligator claw back scratcher. Following those relationships and the histories of those relationships, and it's kind of like you could go back, especially because you have some of these people that have been there, like Remy's father was a cop, and was his grandfather a cop? I don't know if they got into that.
I think so.
Right. So you get the sense that there's that, we take care of our own. So you could go back in time, you could have flashbacks and show the relationships and how they've developed and evolved over the years, and bring it into, I don't set it in 1987, set it today. I think New Orleans still carries a lot of that mystique, that intrigue, and that excitement.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a special city. There's nothing else like it in this country, for sure.
So what are you going to do with it?
Well, I mean, it's such a fun watch. I do think that it would be totally appropriate for a remake. I was thinking that it would be, for me, better suited as a film than a series. I think just because of the energy that you get with a, 90-minute 2-hour movie, you can it's more engaging sometimes for me to watch something that's, I don't know, like the story resolves itself in a certain amount of time, and you're really going along on a journey with the film. And also, it's like I feel like we're just starting to get back into comedic action, like R-rated comedic action movies. I feel like there's a bit of a hunger for it, and that was something that used to be so big and has kind of gone away, and it really needs to come back. So I feel like a cool comedic R-rated action movie. I was thinking that the Remy McSwain character would be a lot of fun for Donald Glover. Also, I think that Ann Osborne, it would be really cool to have Greta Lee in there. Greta Lee has been just absolutely killing it. I mean, I first took notice of her on Russian Doll, the Natasha Lyonne show. She was so funny on that. And then seeing her, I watched her on The Morning Show. I thought she was fantastic. And then it recently in Past Lives, obviously, I mean, she's getting all this recognition for it, and that's for a good reason. She's totally incredible. She's super funny. She can do a lot, and I feel like she'd be really fun in this kind of role, because this kind of role, it's like, yes, you have the serious, tough lawyer moments, but then you also have the vulnerable, I'm also a human moments, when, she's kind of loosening up to Remy, and that back and forth, I think is really fun. And somebody like Greta Lee, I think, could be really awesome at that. So that's where I'm at.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Dan,
yeah.
I have a little bit of a surprise for you. I don't know if I'd call this so much of a quiz, but it is, it's something. It's not a quiz because it's really just a matter of like, all right, how long will it take you? So it's called the Big Quiz because I don't have a better word for it. So I'm going to list because
the Big Queasy would names. Sound wrong.
No, it's the Big Quiz because I'm going to list a bunch of actors' names that are in a movie in a reverse order that Wikipedia lists them. And you have to tell me which movie it comes from. That title begins with The Big. Because as we know, Dan, this is going to be easier than you think.
Okay.
So perfect. Okay, let's start off simple. Okay. Bob Kearney, Jim Garrison, Gaylord Sartain. You should already have this.
So I'm looking for a movie.
You're guessing the name of the movie that has the title that begins with The Big.
The Big Easy?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So you get it. All right. I'm going to do another one that's going to be an easy one for you. Richard Grant, Amy Mann, Asia Carrera, Marshall Manish, Warren Keith. We're not up to the ones yet. I can skip a few. I'm going to skip a few. Don Herrera.
The Big Lebowski.
Yes, that's the Big Lebowski. As you get closer to the top,
Don
the
Herrera was the one that, yeah.
Okay. This one I'm going to skip a few of them here because I know that you won't recognize them, but Mitra Juhari, Rebecca Naomi Jones, David Allen Greer, Jeremy Shamus, Kurt Braunohler, Amy Bryant, Bo Burnham, Adil Akhtar, Zenobia Shroff, Anupam Kher. This is where you're going to start to get it. Ray Romano.
Oh,
Holly
the Big
Hunter,
Sick.
The Big Sick. That's right. Okay. This one's a fun one. Marissa Tomei, Jeremy Strong, Hamish Linkletter, Finn Whitrock, John Magaro, Brad Pitt, Ryan Gosling.
The Big Short.
That's right. They don't list Margot Robbie or anybody who like plays themselves in it, like Selena Gomez. They're kind of in their own separate category. All right, here's where this one's gonna get a little bit more tricky. So I'm actually going to start more towards the middle here. And your clue, I'm giving you a clue for this one. It's from 1946. Bob Steele, Charles D. Brown, Charles Waldron, Peggy Knudsen, Regis Toomey, Dorothy Malone, Sonia Darren, Martha Vickers, John Ridgely.
I'm going to throw a guess out there. Is it The Big Country?
Nope. These next two might give it away. Lauren Bacall,
The Big Sleep.
Humphrey Bogart. There you go. All right. This next one. Kevin Costner, Ken Place, James Gillis.
The Big Chill.
The Big Chill. Good job. All right. I don't know if you're going to get this one. Steven Weber, The Amazing June Squibb, John Cleese, Al Roker, Andrew Wilson, Kevin Pollak, Jesse Moss, Corbin Burnson, Callum Worthy, Joel McHale, Tim Blake Nelson, Anthony Anderson, the amazing Diane Wiest, Brian Dennehy, the aforementioned on this podcast episode, Jo Beth Williams, Rosamund Pike, Jim Parsons, Angelica Houston, Rashida Jones, and now here's where we get to the actual leads, people that are on the poster. Owen Wilson, Jack Black.
Oh,
Steve Martin.
The big, is this the big, oh, is this the bird watching one?
Yeah, do you know what it's called?
The birding one, the big, oh, damn it.
2011.
I can picture the poster, and this was what
of course you can.
I thought this is one of the, I thought about this. Yeah, it's not The Big Short. It's not The Big Swipe.
Well, okay, one could venture to say that it's not The Big Short, but it's more of The Big Long, but long in sense of the duration of time.
The Big C. No,
the Big Year.
The Big Year. Okay. The Big Year.
Yeah. Okay, this one I'm not sure you're going to get, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. And I'm going to skip a lot of names because I don't know most of the people on here. A lot of them actually, you know how Wikipedia, it's like if they're not linked, then they probably haven't done anything else worthy of a Wikipedia page for themselves. Libby Valari, Jordan Brower. This is from 1995, by the way. That's a little hint.
Oh, okay.
Yareli Arizmendi, Chauncey Lepardi, Patrick Renna, John Terry, J.O. Sanders, Olivia D'Abo, Steve Guttenberg, and Bug Hall.
Oh.
I would say that Patrick Renna is. Let me take a look. I think that Patrick Renna is the one that is most recognizable from this movie. If you know who that is.
No. You said a lot of other names I recognized. The Big is with Steve Guttenberg.
Correct. It is a sports comedy.
The Big Green?
Correct.
Okay. I've never seen that one.
Here's a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah, not surprised. This one doesn't have very many names to it. Calla Alexander, Wendy Thorlekson, Harry Dean Stanton, Willie Nelson, Baby Newworth, Gary Sinise, Vinnie Jones, Sarah Foster, Charlie Sheen, Morgan Freeman, and Owen Wilson. I assure you that you've seen the poster for this.
I know. Yeah.
But have never thought, oh, I want to watch that.
No. Right. Could you please go back through the cast like in reverse order?
Starting from my beginning?
Yeah. No, starting from where
I'll just mention a few names.
Yeah.
So Harry Dean Stanton, Willie Nelson, Bebe Newworth, Gary Sinise, Vinnie Jones, Sarah Foster, Charlie Sheen, Morgan Freeman, and playing a character named Jack Ryan, Owen Wilson.
This was like a direct to DVD thing, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't remember this ever being in the theater. I only ever just remember seeing the cover art for it. It's from 2004, and it is called The Big Bounce.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I know. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. This next one you're going to get. Don Franklin, Tracy Brooks Swope, Kim Maori, Jason Gould, Dan Schneider. Okay, now here's where we're going to get into some bigger ones. Terry Hatcher, Michael McKeon, Jennifer Jason Leigh, JT Walsh, Emmethy Longstreth, and Kevin Bacon. From 1989.
Oh, The Big Picture.
Yes, it's a big picture.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. This one is another oldie from 1958. And we're going to start with Chuck Robertson, Dorothy Adams, Chuck Hayward, Chuck Connors. This is a time when people were named Chuck. I just mentioned 3 Chucks. Alfonso Bedoya, Charles Bickford, maybe some people call him Chuck, Burl Ives, Charlton Heston, Carol Baker, Gene Simmons, Jean, not Gene, and Gregory Peck. You said it earlier.
Yeah, The Big Country.
Yeah, it's The Big Country.
That's what I thought it was.
Here is one that I don't know if you are going to get, so feel free to say, wow, I just don't know that one. But there are so many big names in it that it's kind of just like, wow, right, okay, this did exist. Krista Campbell, Megan Ketch, Kyle Bornheimer, Robin Williams, Patricia Ray, Anna Iora, David Rash, Christine Ebersole, Amanda Seyfried, Susan Sarandon.
The Big Wedding.
Ben Bar. That's correct. You got it. This is one where I was like, wow, I completely forgot about that movie from 2013.
Because I frequently forget about it, and because it is like Robin Williams and Susan Sarandon, isn't like Diane Keaton in it or something? Or...
Yeah. Robert De Niro, Diane Keaton, Katherine Heigl,
Right.
Topher Grace.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Dan, this one only has 5 people listed in the cast.
So it's not the big
It is
cast.
from 1990. It is not very much so. It's from 1995. Jen Taylor, Paul Dawson, Peter Facinelli, Danny DeVito, Kevin Spacey.
Hold on a second. The Big Kahuna.
That's correct. And finally, the last one, and I'm going to see if you can get this from just this one hint. This was one of the first DVDs I ever owned.
A big hit.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know how you did you know that?
Yes. I mean, did I know that was one of the first DVDs you ever owned?
Yeah.
And here's why. Because every now and again, I will randomly think of that film and think of what an outlier it is. It's kind of, I don't know about an outlier in your collection, because I think your collection has enough outliers that maybe it's not so much of an outlier, but and I'm sure it's an R-rated comedic action movie. 1998. This is during the time before Mark Wahlberg was like accepted into, Boogie Nights was like the one thing, and then it was like everything else was just kind of, he's still Marky Mark. I mean, Fear, Basketball Diaries, Boogie.
So
Boogie Nights was really.
This was just. Yeah, but this isn't that era. He's like very much finding himself as an actor, and it's a starring role.
Lou Diamond Phillips
Applegate, is in it. Lou Diamond Phillips, who's so good in this,
Bokeem
and Antonio
Woodbine.
Sabato Jr. Yep, Elliot Gould, and so this is one of those movies so silly. There's some moments in it that I love. There's the trace bus. The thing that blocks people tracing your number. It's the trace buster, but the other guy has the trace buster. Then the other guy has the trace buster. It's so funny, but it's a completely ridiculous. It's very of its time, fashion wise,
if I remember correctly.
And sensibilities,
and soundtrack, and
anyway. Yeah, I thought that'd be a fun one to go out on. But I'd say overall, you did real well. We can just forget about the big year and the big bounce. I feel like those, and the big green.
I could forget about them
see that.
Again.
Yeah.
But
I knew you'd get the big chill very easily.
If you had for the big
short was a pretty easy
for
one.
the big green, if you had said like the chubby redheaded curly-haired kid from The Sandlot, I would have said the big green.
And that's Patrick Renna.
That's right. And now that's name-wise, I did not recognize his name, but that one. But the big year, the big bounce, like you've said. See, I think the big year, I tried to watch once, and then just it was.
I watched it and I was like, it's fine. Yeah, it's there.
It is.
Yeah, it's a more subtle Jack Black performance. I don't know. It's fun to see Steve Martin with like the other generation of comedy juggernauts. Yeah, I don't know. But I was thinking about The Big Easy, and then I think I was thinking of The Big Lebowski, because I was like, oh, John Goodman's been in 2 movies that start with the big, and I was like, there's a lot of movies that just start with the big and then it's one word. And so I thought it'd be fun to kind of do a little something fun with that.
No, because you're right. That was a lot of fun, and I doubt we even scratched the surface really of the big
I tried,
movies.
Yeah, there's some other ones from like early cinema days where I'm just like, he'll never know it.
The Big Train Robbery.
I don't recognize. Well, I just stuck to the ones with just one word after the big.
Got it.
The Big Train. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if anybody listening has their fond favorites of movies that start with the big, or perhaps you've seen The Big Easy and have a really great idea of some way that you want to bring it back in 2024. Email us ruinchildhoodspod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We also have a link to our link tree in this episode's description, so please check that out. Got a lot of fun stuff on there. Dan, is there anything else that you wanted to mention about The Big Easy?
No, just wanted to thank everyone who voted, regardless of what they recommended or what they voted for, and want to thank the write-ins, and just want to let you know, even if we didn't get to your pick for this episode, we're going to come back around. So yeah, we're not done in Louisiana just for now.
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
Yeah. So, Dan, on the next episode, we're going to Maine. Do you want to tell everybody where we're going on our Maine journey?
We're going to Maine. We are going to a very intimate place in Maine, and that place is in the bedroom. So, it's a 2001, really a big movie, a small movie that got really big, directed by Todd Field, and stars Marissa Tomei, Nick Stahl, Sissy Spacek, and of course the late great Tom Wilkinson.
Yeah, pour one out.
Right. Yeah. Who I believe
I'm excited.
Yeah. I believe he was nominated for an Academy Award for this. So
oh, wonderful. Well, I'm excited to check it out. I've never seen it before. And I love whenever I watch a Todd Field movie, I just think about Nick Nightingale standing behind the camera on a piano and saying action. Fidelio. All right, Dan. Well, as you cruise down the bayou, I wish you a good journey.
Good journey.